India. While it's always been known to be geographically and economically important, this large South Asian nation has silently been transforming over the last several years to take on a superpower role in the global stage. In today's video, we discuss how India has transformed over the last several years and the current makeup of its economy and how it's transitioned itself to become a superpower on the world stage. Officially known as the Republic of India, India is the world's largest democracy, the second most populous nation in the world, and the seventh largest country by area. It dominates South Asia, it's strategically located along multiple trade routes, it's near other major global players, including China, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, and many others. The nation declared independence in 1947 and became a republic in 1950. So let's find out just what India is all about. Administered as a federal republic, India includes 28 states and 8 territories, for a total of 1.4 billion people as of 2021. While India did have quite a robust growth rate in terms of population, this has recently started to slow, starting in about 2000, where the birth rate started to decline and we saw higher increases in the proportion of population that was above the age of 15. India is also quite religiously diverse, including major sects of Hindu, Muslim, Christian, and other faiths, according to Pew Research. Historically, India does have a caste system, which has slowly been waning in influence and popularity over time. Economically speaking, in terms of GDP, the most widely used measure of economic output, India totaled 3.1 trillion US dollars in 2021, making it the fifth largest economy in the world by GDP. Historically speaking, India did exceed world growth rate in GDP, and it was hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, it is expected to recover and outpace the world average once again in terms of this growth. However, India does lag the world in terms of GDP PPP, indicating that while it does have a large economy, the purchasing power adjusted for prices in India isn't quite as well off or wealthy as some other nations. This is largely due to India's large population and relatively high poverty rate compared to the Western world, anyways. In 2011, it was estimated to be 21.9%, according to the World Bank. Currently, it's estimated to be around 16%. India has made tremendous strides over the last several years to reduce that poverty rate, and continuing on this pattern will help close that gap in PPP. Trade is one of the first areas where it's clear to see how India has positioned itself to become a superpower on the world stage. First, India has shown a growing GDP, yet relatively stable import and export numbers, indicating that there has been continued efficiency in the market. India has also shown that it is using resources internally and driving consumer work on the inside of the economy to drive itself, meaning a slight transition towards the way the economies of the United States and Western Europe are set up, which gives India the power to grow from within without relying on the outside world. Additionally, India is a net agricultural exporter, meaning that it exports more food than it imports, and it is known to be food sufficient. It is in close proximity to net importers and has shown increasing efficiency in the agricultural sector. All this goes to mean that India is about to develop a lot of soft power, speaking politically, as it now controls food supply to many neighboring nations. This power cannot be understated, as the recent conflict in Ukraine has shown just how vital food supplies are to the world economy. In the last several years, foreign direct investment within India has grown substantially. In 2021, India took in $44 billion of investments from outside countries. India did also invest $17 billion outside of the country. Continued large foreign investments in India in manufacturing and services have the potential to continue moving India's economy forward while also making other countries reliant and dependent upon Indian manufacturing and services. While the country is known to have a somewhat tricky legal landscape when it comes to regulations and business, it has made changes to make it much easier for foreign firms in the last several years. Outsiders see large growth potential in India based on these numbers, and as such, India continues to position itself to grow and become more intertwined in the global fabric. In terms of national stock market returns, India has shown very strong returns, which generally outpace the US in terms of return. It is seen as an emerging market, And tying in with FDI is seen as a great place to invest for outside investors. Company market cap in India continues to rise, as well as the overall number of public companies is growing. Now, returns in the Indian stock market are somewhat more volatile than perhaps the United States market is. However, investors still clearly see a reason to flock to India in droves, and they're not wrong based on these strong returns. If India continues to produce these results, it will continue to draw in more power and financial say in the world that's going on around it. One of the easiest ways to see India's transition over the last several years is within the employment by sector. There's been an overall decline in agricultural employment, which is largely due to sector efficiency and increased output in agriculture, even though there are less workers, which has allowed individuals to transition to jobs in the service and industry sectors, which are increasingly complex but more highly paid and have generally greater GDP output than previously. This transition is quite clear, and there's still a ways to go, which means that we're going to see continued tremendous growth from India. And then next, we'll discuss how some of these industry concentrations have changed and some of the large companies that go along with it. India has transitioned massively within the last several decades to move from one which was largely agriculturally dependent to an economy by GDP which is now very well and evenly diversified across a number of important sectors. Finance, services, manufacturing, agriculture, and government, including defense, are nearly equal when it comes to percentage of GDP. Generally speaking, this is an extreme strength of the Indian economy, striving for that diversification. It includes good growth prospects for many of the industries represented here, as well as extreme diversity, helping India weather economic crises better than many other nations. Before we move on to some of the geopolitical considerations that India is now running into as an emerging superpower, we'll briefly look at a list of the largest companies within India by market cap. This list surmises to say that while India is well diversified in terms of GDP sectors, there is somewhat of a concentration in the largest public companies among finance. While this is not a negative in itself, it just shows that there is a little bit of a mismatch in terms of company size versus GDP output. With ever increasing power come ever more complex geopolitical considerations. India has long running disputes with its neighbors China and Pakistan over both territorial and political considerations. These issues will become ever more on the forefront as these nations see India as ever stronger. Regulation in global trade is also an issue for India. India is known for having a complex web of regulations at both the local and federal levels, and simplification of these will be necessary for India to excel and bring in more money on the global stage. Additionally, with its rising influence, India will no longer be able to sit on the fence for important geopolitical decisions. It will be pressured and expected to take sides in these issues. And when a nation has to take sides, there will always be winners and losers and new enemies to be gained. Before we get to the conclusion, if you have enjoyed the video so far today and made it this far, we would greatly appreciate you leaving a like. Additionally, YouTube has told me that I have a decent sized Indian following and would greatly appreciate a comment down below in the section letting me know what part of India you're watching this video from if you're in India, as we might do some more India focused videos in the future. Now, in conclusion, we have seen that India has experienced tremendous growth over the last several decades and has the potential to continue that tremendous growth in the next several decades. We've seen how India has transitioned its economy from a largely agricultural based one to one which is more strongly rooted in the service and industry sectors, while it moves to a consumer based economy and it reduces poverty along the way. India has also shown that it's increasing its soft and hard power through agricultural exports and increased spending. Overall, one thing is certain, and that is that India will continue to and will wield even more power on the global stage as an emerging superpower. So thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider hitting that subscribe button to see more content from us in the future. In the meantime, we recently produced a video detailing how insurance companies make money that should pop up right now. Otherwise, have a great rest of the day and thank you for watching.